There are rooms in this world that most people never see. Not physical rooms, but psychological spaces, symbolic chambers where decisions are made about the direction of human consciousness itself. And in those rooms, in those hidden gatherings of awareness and intention, your name has been spoken, not your legal name, not the identity written on documents, but the essence of what you carry, the frequency of your presence, the particular quality of awareness you embody. This is not about being better than anyone else. This is about recognizing a pattern that has followed you since you were young, a feeling that you could never quite name, a sense that something within you was watching, learning, preparing for a moment you couldn't yet understand. You felt it in the silence of your childhood bedroom. You felt it when you looked at the stars and something ancient stirred inside you. You felt it when everyone around you seemed to move through life with certainty while you questioned everything, felt everything, saw patterns others couldn't see. This experience, this feeling of being set apart, is not about superiority. It's about sensitivity. It's about the way some human minds develop an acute awareness of symbolic, the hidden, the unspoken currents that move beneath the surface of everyday life. Psychology calls this trait openness to experience, depth of processing, high sensitivity. Ancient traditions called it the mark of the seeker, the one who would not accept easy answers, the soul that insisted on going deeper. You were never told you were chosen. You simply felt different, and that difference was often painful. You didn't fit easily into groups. You watched from the edges. You felt things more intensely than others seemed to. You cried at beauty. You felt crushed by cruelty. You sensed dishonesty before it was revealed. You knew when something was wrong in a room, even when everyone smiled. This wasn't a superpower. This was a burden. And for a long time, you thought something was wrong with you. But what if that feeling, that ache of not belonging, was actually the first stage of psychological and spiritual awakening that follows a pattern older than any religion, older than any nation, older than recorded history itself? What if the very qualities that made you feel isolated were the same qualities that would one day allow you to see through illusions others never question? What if your sensitivity wasn't a flaw but a function, a necessary trait for someone who would eventually need to navigate the deeper layers of human experience? The so-called global elites, the hidden gatherings, the secret meetings, these are not literal conspiracies targeting you personally. They are symbols. They represent the forces in this world that shape collective consciousness, that decide what people believe, what people value, what people fear. And whether you know it or not, you have been in opposition to those forces for most of your life. Not because you chose to be, but because something in you refused to accept the program. Something in you resisted the conditioning. Something in you kept asking why. If you're still here, listening to this, feeling the resonance of these words in your chest, then perhaps you're ready to go deeper. Consider staying with this channel, joining others who are walking the same invisible path. There's no pressure, only an invitation to continue exploring what it means to truly know yourself. Let's go back to the beginning, not your literal beginning, but the archetypal beginning, the mythological template that your life has been following without your conscious awareness. In nearly every ancient culture, there are stories of the chosen one, the hero marked from birth, the child who would grow to face great trials and emerge transformed. Psychologist Carl Jung recognized that these stories weren't about special individuals. They were about the process of individuation, the journey every human soul must take if it wishes to become whole. The chosen one is not a person. It's a psychological stage. It's the moment when the unconscious parts of yourself begin to call you toward integration, toward wholeness, toward the confrontation with everything you've avoided. And that call often begins with isolation. You know this isolation well. It started early, maybe in school, when you realized you thought about things differently than your peers. Maybe in your family, when you felt like you were living among people who spoke a language you couldn't quite translate into your own inner experience. Maybe in adolescence, when everyone else seemed to find their tribe and you remained alone, observing, absorbing, trying to understand why connection felt so difficult. This wasn't rejection. This was preparation. In the old stories, the hero is always set apart. Moses was raised in a foreign palace. Buddha was sheltered behind walls. Jesus wanted the desert. These are not historical facts. They are psychological truths. The future self, the integrated self, the self that will eventually serve something larger than its own comfort, must first learn to be alone. Because in solitude, you meet yourself. In solitude, you cannot hide behind the masks you wear for others. In solitude, the voices you've internalized, the beliefs you've absorbed, the fears you've carried, all of them rise to the surface and demand to be seen. And so you sat with those voices. You wrestled with them. You felt the weight of them. You felt the confusion of not knowing who you were beneath all the expectations, all the judgments, all the roles you were told to play. This is the first trial. This is a descent. Every mythological hero must descend into the underworld, into the cave, into the belly of the whale. This is not a physical place. It's a psychological underworld, the shadow realm, the parts of yourself you were taught to deny. And you went there, perhaps without even realizing it. You went there through depression, through anxiety, through existential crisis, through the dark nights when you lay awake wondering what the point of any of this was. You were not broken. You were being broken open. There's a difference. The breaking open is necessary because the false self, the conditioned self, the self that was built to please others and avoid pain, must shatter before the true self can emerge. And the true self is not some glowing, perfect, enlightened being. The true self is raw. It's honest. It's flawed. It's human. It contains all the contradictions you've tried to reconcile, all the darkness you've tried to hide, all the light you've been afraid to claim. The secret meetings, the gatherings of those who shape the world. They are not interested in people who know themselves. They are interested in people who can be controlled, who can be predicted, who will follow the script. And you, whether you intended to or not, began to deviate from that script the moment you started asking your own questions. The moment you stopped accepting answers just because an authority figure gave them. The moment you felt the dissonance between what you were told was true and what you sense in your own experience. This is where the real danger begins, not physical danger, but psychological danger. Because once you start seeing through one illusion, you begin to see through others. And the more you see, the more isolated you become. Because most people are not ready to question. Most people are not ready to feel the discomfort of uncertainty. Most people want the safety of the known, even if the known is a cage. And so you found yourself surrounded by people who seem content, people who seem happy, people who seem to have it all figured out. And you felt more alone than ever. You wondered if you were crazy. You wondered if your sensitivity was a curse. You wondered if it would have been easier to just go along, to just believe what you were supposed to believe, to just stop thinking so much. But you couldn't, because once you've tasted the truth of your own inner experience, once you felt the resonance of something deeper than the surface narrative, you cannot unsee it. You cannot unknow it. This is the point of no return in the hero's journey. This is the moment when the call becomes too loud to ignore. And the call is not coming from outside. It's coming from within. It's the voice of your own soul, your own deeper intelligence, the part of you that knows you are here for more than comfort, more than safety, more than fitting in. But what is that more? That's the question that haunts you. That's the question that keeps you searching. We're now moving through the heart of this journey together. If these words are stirring something inside you, if you feel less alone hearing them, then perhaps this is where you belong. Consider subscribing, not as a transaction, but as a quiet acknowledgement that you're ready to keep walking this path. Let's talk about what happens when you begin to awaken to your own power, not power over others, but power within yourself. This is where many people on the spiritual path make a dangerous mistake. They interpret their awakening as evidence of their superiority. They begin to see themselves as enlightened while everyone else is asleep. They begin to build new identities around being chosen, being special, being one of the few who understand. This is the ego's final trap. This is the shadow dressed in light. True awakening does not make you feel superior. It makes you feel more human. It makes you feel the suffering of the world more acutely because you recognize it as your own suffering reflected back. It makes you feel compassion for those still lost in illusion because you remember what that felt like. It makes you humble because you see how much you still don't know, how much you still carry, how much work remains. The global elites, the hidden forces, the systems of control, they are not your enemies. They are reflections of the same unconscious patterns that exist within you. The desire for power, the fear of vulnerability, the need to control outcomes, the addiction to certainty. These are universal human shadows. And if you do not face them in yourself, you will simply project them outward and become the very thing you claim to oppose. This is a great test. This is a trial by fire. Can you hold your own darkness without collapsing into it? Can you see your own capacity for cruelty, for manipulation, for self-deception, and not turn away? Can you forgive yourself for being human, while still holding yourself accountable for your choices? This is the work that most people avoid. This is the work that the true seeker cannot avoid. And so you sit with your shadow. You sit with your rage. You sit with your grief. You sit with your shame. You sit with the parts of yourself that are selfish, that are cruel, that are weak. And you do not judge them. You do not try to fix them. You simply witness them. You let them speak. You let them reveal the wounds beneath the behavior, the fear beneath the anger, the longing beneath the withdrawal. And in that witnessing, something shifts. The energy that was locked in repression begins to move. The parts of yourself that were exiled begin to return. You become more whole, not more perfect. Wholeness includes everything. Perfection excludes. And the more whole you become, the less you need to prove anything to anyone. The less you need to be right. The less you need to be seen as special. You simply are. This is the integration. This is the return of the hero. But the return is not triumphant in the way the ego wants. The return is quiet. The hero comes back to the ordinary world, to the same streets, the same faces, the same challenges. But the hero is different. The hero sees differently. The hero carries something that cannot be named but can be felt. Presence, clarity, groundedness, the ability to be with what is without needing it to be different. This is the gift the hero brings back. Not a solution, not a teaching, not a new ideology, just presence. Just a living example of what it looks like to be awake in a sleeping world without arrogance, without bitterness, without the need to wake anyone else. Because here's the truth they don't tell you in the spiritual marketplace, in the self-help industry, in the conspiracy communities. You cannot save anyone. You cannot wake anyone up. You can only do your own work. You can only heal your own wounds. You can only integrate your own shadow. And when you do that work, when you show up in the world as a whole human being, you become a mirror. You become a possibility. People who are ready will feel something in your presence. They won't be able to name it, but they'll feel it. And that feeling will plant a seed. That seed may take years to sprout, or it may never sprout. And that's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to keep doing your work, to keep questioning your own beliefs, to keep examining your own motivations, to keep softening the places in you that want to harden, to keep opening the places in you that want to close. This is the real rebellion. This is the real resistance, not against some external enemy, but against the gravitational pull of unconsciousness within yourself. Because the forces that shape this world, the systems of control, the mechanisms of manipulation, they rely on people staying unconscious. They rely on people projecting their power outward. They rely on people believing they are victims. They rely on people believing they are saviors. Both are illusions. Both keep you trapped in a story that is not your own. The meetings, the gatherings, the discussions about who will shape the future, they happen in boardrooms and backrooms and hidden places, yes. But they also happen in your own mind. Every time you choose awareness over reaction, every time you choose integrity over convenience, every time you choose truth over comfort, you are participating in a deeper conversation. You are casting a vote in a realm that politics cannot touch. You are aligning yourself with forces that are older and wiser and more patient than any institution. These forces don't need you to be perfect. They need you to be willing. Willing to see, willing to feel, willing to grow, willing to change. And change is terrifying. Change means death. Not physical death, but the death of who you thought you were. The death of the stories you've told yourself about why your life is the way it is. The death of the identities you've clung to because they gave you a sense of meaning, even if that meaning was built on suffering. Victim is an identity. Survivor is an identity. Chosen one is an identity. And all identities are prisons if you cannot step outside of them. The freedom you're searching for is not found in a new identity. It's found in the space between identities. It's found in the awareness that can witness all identities without being captured by any of them. This is the mystical truth. This is the psychological truth. You are not your story. You are the awareness in which all stories appear. But don't let that become another concept you hide behind. Don't let that become another way to avoid your humanity. Yes, you are awareness. And you are also this body with these wounds, in this time, in this place, with these responsibilities. The spiritual bypass is real. The temptation to float above your pain, to transcend your trauma without healing it, to rise above your relationships without repairing them. This is another trap. True integration is both transcendent and embodied. It's both infinite and particular. It's both timeless and utterly here, utterly now, utterly you. We're approaching the final stretch of this exploration. If you've stayed this far, something in you knows this matters. Before we close, I want to gently invite you to subscribe if you feel called. Not because you need me, but because walking this path with others, even quietly, can make the journey less lonely. So what does it mean that your name was on the table? What does it mean that in some symbolic, psychological, archetypal sense, you were noticed? It means that the universe, the collective unconscious, the deeper intelligence that moves through all things, recognize in you a potential, not a guarantee, not a destiny, a potential, the potential to wake up, the potential to integrate, the potential to become a conscious participant in the evolution of human awareness. But potential is nothing without choice, and choice is nothing without action, and action is nothing without consistency, and consistency is nothing without humility. You were given sensitivity. What will you do with it? You were given depth. What will you do with it? You were given the capacity to see patterns, to feel truth, to sense dishonesty. What will you do with it? Will you use it to inflate your ego, to feel superior, to separate yourself from others? Or will you use it to serve, to heal, to bridge, to connect? The choice is always yours. And the choice is made new every single day, every single moment. There is no arrival. There is no final enlightenment where you get to rest on your laurels and proclaim yourself complete. There is only the ongoing practice of awareness, of integrity, of humility, of love. And love is not what the greeting cards say. Love is not sentiment. Love is the willingness to see reality as it is and respond with wisdom and compassion. Love is the willingness to sit with another person's pain without trying to fix it. Love is the willingness to challenge someone you care about when they're lost in delusion. Love is the willingness to forgive yourself for your failures while still striving to do better. Love is fierce. Love is tender. Love is complex. Love is the only force strong enough to transform the world, but it must begin with transforming yourself. The secret gatherings, the hidden councils, the forces that shape consensus reality, they cannot touch the love you cultivate within yourself. They cannot legislate your inner freedom. They cannot control your awareness. They can shape the external world. Yes, they can create systems that make it harder or easier to live with integrity, but they cannot touch the part of you that chooses. And that part, that choosing awareness, that sovereign consciousness, that is what was recognized. That is what was noticed, not because you're special, because you're awake enough to know you have that power. And with that power comes responsibility. Responsibility is not burden. Responsibility is the ability to respond, the ability to meet life as it is, the ability to act from clarity rather than react from conditioning, the ability to hold multiple truths at once without collapsing into confusion, the ability to be strong without being hard, to be soft without being weak, to be certain about your values without being rigid in your thinking. This is a maturity the world needs. Not more gurus, not more leaders, not more people claiming to have the answers, more people willing to sit in the questions, more people willing to admit what they don't know, more people willing to be wrong and learn and grow. You were not chosen to be a messiah. You were called to be human, fully human, courageously human, in a world that encourages us to be anything but. You were called to feel when the world tells you to numb, to question when the world tells you to obey, to connect when the world tells you to compete, to love when the world tells you to fear. This is not easy. This has never been easy. And anyone who tells you that awakening is blissful, that enlightenment is peaceful, that the path is smooth, they're either lying or they haven't walked very far. The path is brutal. The path will strip you of everything you thought you knew. The path will bring you face to face with your own cowardice, your own pettiness, your own capacity for self-deception. And it will ask you to love those parts, to forgive those parts, to integrate those parts. Because wholeness is not achieved by cutting away the darkness. Wholeness is achieved by bringing the darkness into the light and recognizing it as part of the same spectrum, the same energy, the same life force that also creates beauty and joy and connection. So here you are at the end of this particular exploration, but not at the end of your journey. Your journey has no end. It only has depth. And the invitation, the eternal invitation, is to go deeper. Not deeper into concepts, not deeper into beliefs, but deeper into direct experience, deeper into presence, deeper into the moment that is always here, always now, always offering itself to you if you're willing to receive it. The meetings have already happened. The decisions have already been made, not by others about you, but by you about yourself. You decided at some level to wake up. You decided to see. You decided to feel. You decided to question, and that decision brought you here. Now the question is, what will you do with this awareness? Will you weaponize it against others who haven't awakened yet? Will you use it to feel superior? Or will you let it humble you, soften you, open you, make you more compassionate, more patient, more willing to meet people where they are? The world doesn't need more awakened people who look down on the sleeping. The world needs more awakened people who remember what it felt like to sleep, who have compassion for the dream, who can move between worlds with grace. That's the real mastery, not transcendence. Translation, the ability to take the wisdom you've gained in the depths and translate it into action in the world. The ability to hold the mystical and the practical in the same breath. The ability to be nobody special while also honoring the unique gift of your particular existence. You are not the chosen one, and you are also not the chosen one. You are part of a larger awakening, a collective emergence, a species-wide initiation into deeper consciousness. And your role in that emergence is not to lead, not to save, but simply to do your work, to heal what can be healed, to accept what cannot be changed, to have the wisdom to know the difference, to show up, to be present, to be honest, to be kind when you can, to be fierce when you must, to rest when you need to act when you're called. This is enough. You are enough, not because you're special, but because you're here, and here is where life is happening. So take a breath. Feel your body. Notice where you are. Let go of the need to be anything other than what you are in this moment. Let go of the fantasy of enlightenment. Let go of the burden of being chosen. Let go of the story that you're supposed to be someone other than yourself. And in that letting go, discover what remains. Discover the quiet awareness that has been here all along, witnessing everything, judging nothing, simply being. That awareness is your true home. That awareness is a place where your name was always written, not on some external table, but in the fabric of existence itself. You belong here. You always have. Welcome home.